Hey all, Heretic here, one of the Hearthstone Battlegrounds Players Guide, and I'm here to bring you the information you need to help you win with Cthulhu. So get comfy and let's dive in. First, let's talk about the Hero Power Saturday Cthulhus. This costs 2 gold and reads, at the end of the turn, give a friendly minion +1/+1, repeat 0 times, upgrade each turn. So what that means is when you hit your hero power is going to go off and randomly give a +1/+1 buff, and then it's going to repeat a number of times based on what turn it is based on, basically. And this upgrades on its own, there's nothing you have to do. So basically, as you play the game, occasionally you will hit this hero power. Towards later stages of the game, you will constantly hit this power, basically as much as you possibly can. And in the late stages, there's no reason to ever skip it, because the later the game goes, the more buffs you're getting. If your games are going 12 turns, that's a huge buff. But if it's turn 20, buffs get nutty, and it's pretty damn wild to see how big a minion can get quickly. The only issue is it's completely untargetable. You can't control it. It's going to randomly smack around your boards. It is possible for a 20/20 buff basically to only hit 1 minion. It is possible. Not likely, but what I'm saying is this can happen, and it can be frustrating at times. But also, sometimes it can hit the perfect minion every time. So what you need to do to minimize the wrong minion getting the buffs is, if you have a minion that you don't need on the board, you want to get rid of it as quickly as possible. Basically, once you identify a minion as trash, you need to remove that. You want to keep it, obviously, to keep a full board. You don't want to waste gold, but at the same time, you don't want to have something there so long that, when you finally sell it, it's really going to hurt, because if it's soaked up 20 buffs, now you don't want to get rid of this elemental. The water droplet that's sitting there going, hi, I'm a 20/20. You're going to have to, but it's harder to pull the ripcord on that and get rid of that minion the longer the game goes. So when you can, it feels right. Make sure you're moving those minions out so you're not hanging on to something you don't really need to. Now, when it comes to tiering with Cthulhu, that can be hard to say, because the hero power, the minions that come up to you, the quests, all these things dramatically influence every hero you're playing. Every single game is different. But with Cthulhu, it's hard because you don't really want to part with your minions once they start getting buffed a lot. And you need to get the most efficient way to get your board buffed up. So typically I will do 3-on-3. Cthulhu has a ton of armor. He can survive. I don't believe that armor is going to stay. I think that armor is going to be removed to a dramatically lower level. So enjoy it while you can. Then maybe look to a more basic, fast basic curve. There's lots of different ones. Basically 3-on-3 for now, and then Cthulhu is just wing it. Because if the quest is super valuable, maybe you want to favor that over, your hero power constantly. Maybe they're both really good and you can complete them both at the same time, so you can now do both and get perfect growth. Cthulhu doesn't follow the same track as other people because of the expense of his hero power, and at the same time, the quality of the quest rewards. Depending how they match up, that really is going to make your gameplay different in every game. So just keep it loose and play it by ear. So when it comes to the rewards I'm looking for when I'm playing Cthulhu and questing, it's tough because the quests are sometimes very hard for Cthulhu to complete because he's not buying many minions. It can be very hard to want the reward because of the nature of how you play Cthulhu, which is different from most heroes. We're hanging on to minions that normally you would not hang on to because they can get significantly larger. These are the quest and rewards I like. These are the ones I've seen. I'm sure there's others, but these are my 2 favorite. Evil Twin, hey, guess what? It's hard to predict where those buffs are going to land, but if you're throwing out a ton of stats, odds are that minion you want 2 of. Cthulhu is great for this. Oh well, you're 45, 44, selfless hero, that's gold. Unfortunately, you're going to have to take 2 of them. You poor thing. What are you going to do about all these divine shields on these 2 massively statted minions? You baby. I guess you're just going to have to finish in top 2. Good luck. Next, in probably the most powerful by far, this one just blows all out of the water, and then if it's even remotely completable, take it, Ghastly Mask. This is the #1 MVP, nothing, hands down the best, because Cthulhu's hero power is an end of turn effect. So no matter what minion the reward is, no matter what's in the pool, Cthulhu shines with this effect. If it's turn 10, you're throwing out 11 buffs, 10 buffs, whatever it is. Now it's doubled. and every turn it's doubled. The faster you complete this quest, the more tempo you're gaining. You're just going to start crushing the lobby if it happens even remotely early. There's no way you don't top 4 if you can complete this in a good time. So definitely go for Ghastly Mask if it's given to you. You will enjoy it. Now, as for the minions and the strategies I like to use when I'm playing Cthulhu, first thing you want to look for are Murlocs in the lobby. If the answer is yes, you then say, are there enough divine shields for me to beat them? Because if there aren't, and you're buffing a couple demons, some pirates, Cthulhu isn't going to work too well. Yeah, you could get your own Murlocs, you could get them poisoned, but Murlocs are more about cycling minions, and Cthulhu isn't typically great. Yeah, you could show me a high roll video where, yeah, oh my god, look at all my giant golden Murlocs in my brand. You're not playing Cthulhu normal. You high rolled, got incredibly lucky on economy. If Murlocs are in, definitely think twice about playing Cthulhu unless there's also a bunch of divine shields so you can counter and get the win. So Cthulhu boards tend to be very random. I mean, you are buying what you can as you're trying to level up in tier, since you can't really roll much because of the cost of the hero power and maybe it's a quest you're trying to complete. It makes Cthulhu boards rather static. They tend to be kind of weird. So that being said, there is massive value in all divine shield minions. I don't care which one it is. If you're putting stats on it and it has a divine shield, you're in good shape. So we don't need to list all the divine shield minions. Divine shields equal good with Cthulhu. Selfless Hero is kind of in the same vein. Well, they do not have divine shield, they will give it. And yes, since your board is going to be random minions and you're randomly getting buffed, having a Selfless Hero that's going to be throwing out a divine shield after it itself might be ridiculously large is very valuable. Impulsive Trickster. Impulsive Trickster is, hey, I'm a little 2/3 demon. I'm going to get tons of random stats, and then when I die, I'm going to move that health around the board. You've already got a random board of buffs. Why not throw around some random health? Now, mind you, while this is a great minion in the early game, later in the game, if you haven't been buffing it the whole game, you definitely don't want to buy one of these. This is only good if you can pick this up very early. Hey, is it turn 3 and you already have a dragon, or there's a dragon in the shop, and sitting next to it in that shop is a whelp smuggler? Oh my. You might get to play one of those rare Cthulhu lobbies that's just one tribe. Because at this point, every time you buff a dragon, the whelp smuggler's also going to give it +1 health. That is a ton of tempo in the early game. You get 2 of these, you triple it. Your minions are going to be ridiculous when it comes to health. They are going to get truly massive, and you are going to stomp the lobby with this. So always consider this if this is an option for you. Cave Hydra. Cave Hydra is another good example of if you get it early and the buffs can stick on it, use it. Cave Hydra can be a nice, giant, massive cleaving out the enemy's board, taking out their barons next to their taunts, giving you a nice, fun time. The only issue is if he doesn't get buffed, just let him go. It's not worth your time. Tunnel Blaster. Wait, why would I want Tunnel Blaster? Well, let's say you're not in a Murloc lobby. Let's say you just can't find divine shields. Your opponents only have a couple, they have a couple Manted Queens, but you don't have any. If you start buffing a Tunnel Blaster in preparation because you can't find divine shields, you've got too many other good minions, already lined up with great stats, just keep buffing the Blaster. It takes out all their shields, it does some good damage if it's, significantly enough buffed. Definitely a good minion that can tip the scale in your advantage. Manted Queen, finally. Manted Queen is great. Since your board tends to be random in a bunch of different tribes anyways, now you've got a minion that's already starting with poison, could roll taunt, could roll divine shield, might get a couple buffs of 5/5. Who cares about that? We're here for the divine shield poison, really. And hey, now your hero power could randomly hit it. And even if it doesn't hit it, who cares? It's still a 5/5 with poison. You're in good shape. Manted Queen is a good investment. You're not going to see this till late in the game for Cthulhu, but still a huge, huge minion for you to pick up. Now, when it comes to the comp, really no set comp with Cthulhu. There are tricks, there are combos of minions that work together, but realistically, your Cthulhu board is going to look a little more random than you usually would like. You can get first with Cthulhu and look at your board and go, if there was any other hero, I'd be dead. But Cthulhu is dumping so many raw stats on the board, you are able to just pummel your opponents into submission. So don't worry about your comp, just try to find those synergies that help blend the board together to give you that edge you need. Now, when it comes to countering Cthulhu, Cthulhu tends to be a very big board. It tends to have 6 really chunky minions, but kind of randomly where the high stats are. Maybe not optimal because they can't control where it goes, but typically that's the layout they have. Now, if they're running a lot of Divine Shields, obviously Tunnel Blaster. Run it out there, pop all their shields, and now they're at least half as effective because they don't get that free hit with the shield too. Now, if you don't want to go Tunnel Blaster, maybe you have your own Divine Shields, just keep buffing those up as much as you can. It's going to be a brawl, but you can win it if you get lucky with some good hits. Maybe you have some resets on your shields, things to give you the advantage like that. Since they have massive stat lines, poison, any poison, Murloc poison, Mantid Queens, run them out there, tag them, let them die. They're easy to deal with unless they also have shields. And finally, Leroys. Position your Leroys carefully and you can get really big value. Do they have a massive taunt? Leroy. Do they have a cleave? Do you have a taunt? Put your Leroy next to that taunt in the corner. When your taunt gets hit, Leroy dies, takes the cleave with him. Things like that. The issue with Cthulhu boards is they're not really nimble. So once you know what they have, it's hard for them to get technical plays and counter because their minions might be too big. Yeah, they might have a slot they can change. They can be tricky, but it's harder. The really good players don't care. They'll sell those stats in a second. But your average player looks at his 60-60, water droplet, and he doesn't want to sell it. He's like, it's a 60-60. It's my largest minion. Well, a more skilled player is like, I'm selling that and putting a Mantid Queen down. Because they know they're going to get more value because of the random nature of their board with a single Mantid Queen than 1,000 water droplet. It just doesn't matter. Stats at that point are irrelevant. Cthulhu is very counterable. Just be prepared because if he's smart, he can still counter you. And real quick, if these guides are helping you at all, they're making you a better player, maybe you just enjoy watching them, telling me how wrong I am at the things I think and say, please hit subscribe. This help keeps me motivated, this helps keep me making content, and we can keep enjoying this together. And if you're a better player, then hey, you could use my own strats against me when you run into me in the lobby. Overall, I've always enjoyed playing Cthulhu. Just right now, Cthulhu is in a very interesting spot because between the cost of the hero power, the quests you're trying to do, you don't make many decisions, but all of them really are impactful. In a hero where you're not going to buy many minions through the early game, getting the wrong ones, not knowing when to let go of a minion to bring something new in, these simple decisions are really important. If you make the wrong one, it can throw your game off because you hung on to the minion you shouldn't have to take the upgrade because it had a little more stats to the one you wanted to keep. Sometimes cost you the game. Those are big things. This isn't like an APM pirate board where you're slamming minions left and right and your only thought is it a pirate? Buy it, sell it, buy it, sell it, buy it, sell it. Is it a Murloc? Cycle, cycle, cycle if you're playing Flurgle. This is a much slower, methodical, make those choices count because they really matter. Just remember also, your hero power is random, so even if you make the perfect plays, sometimes it's not going to work. Other times, those buffs are all going to hit perfect. You're going to be lined up, and you are going to have a blast. The Cthulhu can be a lot of fun. With just a little knowledge, you can easily win with them. Stay tuned, I have more guides in the way. I hope you learned a few things today and had a good time. No, I did. Thanks for watching. Bye.